Imagine training your entire life. You unlock crazy superpowers, you survive getting beaten half to death by your own dad, you team up with the absolute strongest fighters in the entire galaxy, only to get swatted away, like a literal fly, by a guy rocking a god-tier 1980s Tom Selleck mustache. Guys, if you thought the stakes in Invincible couldn't possibly get any higher after everything we've been through, Season 4, Episode 7 just took the rulebook, set it on fire, and threw it into the core of an exploding planet. This episode, titled Don't Do Anything Rash, which is a brilliant callback to Cecil telling Mark not to lose his cool back on Earth, was easily one of the most brutal, lore-heavy, and action-packed hours of animation we've ever been blessed to watch. They basically drained the entire animation budget for the next 3 years, and honestly, money well spent. We have been building to this exact confrontation since the very first episode of Season 1. The Viltrumite Empire has always been this unbeatable, looming boogeyman hanging over Mark Grayson's head. But in this episode, the coalition of planets said, you know what? Let's take the fight to their front door. But amidst the flying fists, the decapitations, and the literal raining blood, there is a massive, universe-altering mystery. Why did the most ruthless, violent villain in the history of the galaxy suddenly stop right when he was about to end Mark's life? There is a huge, game-changing secret hidden in this episode that rewrites everything we know. So grab your snacks, hydrate, and let's break down all the WTF moments, the hidden comic details, and why Earth is in serious, serious trouble. Before we dive headfirst into the heavy, bloody Viltrumite lore, we absolutely have to talk about the legendary voices behind these ancient space gods. If you grew up watching 80s cartoons, your brain probably did a massive happy dance during the flashback scenes, even if you didn't consciously realize why. We already knew the absolute legend Peter Cullen, yes, the iconic, booming voice of Optimus Prime, voices the rebel leader, Thaedus. But the creators gave us the ultimate, fan-pleasing treat by bringing in Frank Welker to voice the ancient emperor, Lord Argal. For the uninitiated out there, Frank Welker is the original voice of Megatron. Having Optimus Prime and Megatron argue about the philosophy of peace versus galactic domination as ancient alien super beings is just a nerd's dream come true. The creator of the show, Robert Kirkman, is a massive, unapologetic Transformers fanboy. His company, Skybound, actually publishes the current Transformers comics. He knew exactly what he was doing here. Putting these two vocal legends together in a room gave their debate this incredible, nostalgic auditory weight. It didn't just sound cool, it sounded historically epic. So let's look at that incredible flashback. The show did something amazing here that the comics didn't really have the time to do. It visualized the actual dark, ancient history of the Viltrumite Empire. Thousands of years ago, long before Thaedus was the good guy we know today, the Viltrumites were dealing with an alien rebellion. They were overseeing this conquered race called the Rellonians, who were basically operating a giant, gross alien smoothie farm. When the military council steps in to crush the rebellion, we get some amazing cameos. If you look closely at the council, you can spot much younger versions of General Craig, Thaedus, and Thragg. Now Viltrumites age incredibly slowly. Their aging actually decelerates the older they get, making them functionally immortal. Because of this, it's actually super hard to tell exactly who the oldest Viltrumite in the room is, though Lord Argal definitely carries that ancient grandpa energy. But here is where it gets really, really interesting for the lore nerds. During this flashback, Thragg is introduced by the title of Regent. Wait a second. If Emperor Argal is still alive, breathing, and sitting on the throne making decisions, why on earth does he have a regent? Usually a regent, especially in a warrior culture like this, is just a super strong placeholder. They keep the throne warm until the true royal heir is old enough or ready to take over. So where are Argal's real kids? Does Argal even know where they are? For TV-only watchers, this is a massive seed being planted. Thragg, wearing that distinct bright red suit, isn't the real king. He's basically the galaxy's most lethal security guard, holding the seat. Keep this little fun fact tucked away in your brain, because it is the key to understanding the ending of this entire series. In that council room, Thaedus tries to be the voice of reason. He basically says, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't murder everyone, maybe we can show mercy. And Argal, who is apparently allergic to chilling out, responds by ordering the slaughter of 25% of a planet's population just to prove a point. Realizing his people are absolute, unredeemable monsters, Thaedus makes a crazy, desperate move. Now, remember, Viltrumite bodies are practically indestructible. They can fly through spaceships like wet tissue paper. Regular weapons don't work, so Thaedus has to use a weapon made of Viltrumite bone to literally split the Emperor's skull wide open. It establishes a brutal rule for the rest of the show. The best, and really the only reliable weapon against a Viltrumite, is another Viltrumite. Thaedus hoped that killing the big boss would shock his people into being peaceful. Spoiler alert, it backfired spectacularly. Thragg takes over as Grand Regent, doubles down on the crazy, and casually murders a council member just to kick off a planetary civil war called the Great Purge. He orders his people to eliminate all weakness. It literally rains blood. It's survival of the fittest on steroids. And fun fact, if you look super closely at the crowd fighting for their lives in the mud and blood, you can actually spot a young Nolan, Omni-Man himself, fighting for his life. This seamlessly connects to the bedtime story Nolan told Mark way back in Season 1. This trauma forged Nolan into the weapon he became. By the end of it, only the absolute most hardcore psychopathic warriors survive. We even see a brief shot of Conquest, who looked entirely prepared to kill Thragg himself before his survival instincts kicked in, and he backed down. Thragg builds a giant statue of Lord Argal, puts the cracked skull right in front of his chair like a creepy villain paperweight, and declares total war on the universe. Fast forward back to the present day. The good guys realize Thragg is chilling on his home planet with only about a dozen guards, while the rest of his massive army is scattered across the galaxy doing space errands. It's a rare, one-time window of opportunity. It's now or never. But before they leave, Thaedus and Nolan have a super tense philosophical argument. Thaedus is absolute. Every single Viltrumite must die for the universe to be safe. Nolan immediately gets defensive, and rightfully so. He realizes, uh-oh, this extremist view means you're eventually gonna come for my half-blood kids, Mark and Oliver too. Thaedus has become so blinded by his trauma that he can't see the possibility of redemption. It sets up some major, terrifying drama for the future. We get a really quiet, heartbreaking moment where Mark records a goodbye message for Adam Eve. The timeline is a bit different than the comics. He hasn't been gone quite as long, but Mark genuinely doesn't know if he's coming back from this. When the Coalition finally attacks, it is pure, unfiltered cosmic chaos. And we finally get an explanation for those rings around the planet. Nolan tells Oliver they aren't made of rocks or ice. They are made of the floating dead bodies of their own fallen brethren. Ah yes. Nothing says home sweet home like a floating graveyard of your uncles and cousins to remind you not to be weak. The good guys bring all their heavy hitters. We've got Space Racer shooting his Infinity Ray. We've got the Ragnars, these alien beasts strong enough to bite through Viltrumite skin. And we've got a super buffed Alan the Alien. But Thragg just steps outside and shows everyone why he's the supreme ruler. He treats the strongest fighters in the galaxy like absolute garbage. Even the terrifying Battlegeist, the guy who nearly beat Mark to death in Season 1, tries to take a swing at him. Thragg just swats him away like a pesky mosquito, basically saying, "Not right now, bro, the adults are talking." The scariest part of the whole fight? Mark tries to play psychological warfare. He screams that he successfully killed Conquest. This actually shocks every Viltrumite on the battlefield. Thragg is so intrigued by this that he actually stands still and lets Mark hit him with everything he's got. Mark unloads a haymaker, and it doesn't even move a single hair on Thragg's head. Then, Thragg retaliates. He punches Nolan with a super punch that is so incredibly powerful and so unbelievably fast that the animation shows it literally sucking the air into a vacuum around his fist before launching Omni-Man into actual space. The guy is a walking cheat code. He even purposefully knocks Nolan down right in front of Lord Argal's massive statue, purely to mess with Nolan's head. The disrespect is off the charts. Realizing they absolutely cannot beat this guy in a fistfight, Nolan gets desperate. He realizes that Viltrum is nothing more than a giant tomb, holding his people back. If you can't beat the landlord, blow up the house. They use Space Racer's Infinity Ray to drill a destabilizing tunnel straight through the planet's core. Note, the laser alone couldn't destroy the planet, it just made a weak point. Then, Flying at maximum light speed velocity, Nolan, Mark, and Thaedus form a three-man human missile. It's like the ultimate Transformers combiner move. They push through the planet's core, tearing the crust apart from the inside out. The destruction of planet Viltrum is a visual masterpiece. It's gorgeous, it's terrifying, and it's symbolic of ending their stagnant history. And yet, in the most hilarious, eerie detail, even after the planet explodes into a billion pieces of space dust, those macabre rings made of dead bodies are still just floating there in the vacuum of space, completely undisturbed. Creepy. You'd think blowing up a planet means you win the fight, right? Wrong. So wrong. An extremely angry Thragg pops out of the space rubble, like it was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. He grabs Thaedus and in one swift motion, rips his head clean off his shoulders. Game over for the rebel leader. With the ideological threat gone, Thragg turns his attention to Mark. In a horrifying sequence that gives us major PTSD from the conquest fight last season, Thragg crushes Oliver's arm, destroys Mark's jaw, punches through his stomach, and gets ready to pop Mark's skull like a grape. We are literal inches away from losing our main character. But then, he just stops. He looks out at the floating debris of his destroyed homeworld. He drops Mark's broken body, and he spares his life. When his surviving guards ask him why the heck he just let a half-breed live, Thragg claims, "Look, our planet is gone. There are simply too few Viltrumites left to justify killing anyone else with our blood." But let's be real for a second. Is that the true reason? If you know the comic lore, you know there is a massive jaw-dropping series-defining secret about why Thragg suddenly froze while holding Mark's skull. I won't spoil the exact details for the TV fans, but think back to what we talked about earlier. About Lord Argal's hidden bloodline? About Thragg just being a regent? Yeah, the show is planting the seeds right now. Thragg realized something in that moment, and it is going to blow your mind when the reveal finally happens. Interestingly, this episode did not feature a post-credits scene. This pacing feels exactly like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. You know, where the penultimate episode features the massive, budget-breaking battle, and the finale deals with the terrifying emotional fallout. Because as the episode closes, we are left with a massive problem. The planet is gone. There are less than 40 Viltrumites left in existence. They need a new home, a place with compatible people they can mix with, to begin repopulating their decimated, scary empire. The Coalition scans the galaxy, and comes up empty, and then, the chilling final shot gives us the answer. Behind the cracking Invincible logo, we see streaks of light careening through space. The remaining 40 angriest, strongest aliens in the universe are making a beeline straight for Earth. Earth is completely, utterly unprepared. Mark is broken physically and mentally. Nolan is out of commission. And these absolute monsters are treating our planet like their new breeding ground. Next week's finale is going to be pure nightmare fuel. What did you guys think of this crazy episode? Did you catch that young Omni-Man cameo? What are your theories on why Thragg really let Mark live? Drop your wildest thoughts down in the comments, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video as we prepare for the end of the world.
Please keep